Hello and welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. On this show, we're having open and honest conversations about building a property business that creates cash flow and freedom. We're going from big picture strategy right the way down to the nitty gritty details so that you can maximize your potential and make a business that really serves you. So on today's episode, it's going to be Dom and Dave, and they are talking about the area of mindset mastery. Now, this is one of the pillars that Dave and I didn't even consider as being important until Dom really came into our lives properly a few years ago, and since that's happened, wonderful transformation has occurred for the two of us, and I can hand on heart say it is definitely the happiest and healthiest that we've ever been because of really delving into this area. And it's ultimately where that real, one of the three freedoms has come from, the emotional freedom side of it. And there really is no point in having financial freedom and location freedom if you don't have emotional freedom to go with it. So without further ado, let me hand over to the wonderful Dave and Dom to talk about what mindset mastery truly is and how it is completely transformative.
Okay. Hello, Dom. Here we are. How are you
I was about to say
today?
hello, Jackie, because it says that on your screen. Hello, Dave.
Oh, you can call me Jackie if you want. That's fine. Right, here we are today, talking about mindset mastery, which for us is one of the core tenets of our whole philosophy, and like one of the core things that we, as a group, you, me, and Jackie, all feel that everyone I don't want to say the word needs, because I think it's the wrong word, but could massively benefit from. Like it just massively improves everyone's life if they can get down with this part of their lives, their mindset mastery. And it's been a huge change for us in the last 2 or 3 years. And you were, and then anyone who's listened to the earlier episodes, interviewing you've obviously, they'll know that you were a massive influence on us and the main reason that we started that shift towards this. And I guess today we're just going to explore it a little bit more. And I think I'd love to hear loads of your thoughts on what it means to you, what this is, and why this has had such an impact on our lives from your perspective, and on all of our clients and everyone else that you work with as well. So
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, where do you want to start?
Good question. It's such a massive topic, isn't it? Basically, everything is going on in your head. That's how we experience the world, right? It's through our thoughts and obviously our feelings as well. But if, when I think about when I start with a customer client, when I explain mindset, I like to use the analogy that your mind is just like a computer. It is programmed consciously or unconsciously through the way you think, the surroundings you're in, the people you're with, the way you're brought up, society, the news you listen to, all those things are programming you in every moment. So unless you become deliberately aware of what you're putting into your mind and you observe your thoughts rather than be your thoughts, because most people see themselves as their own thoughts, and you're not. Your thoughts are just a product of your brain. Your mind will think continually if you're awake. It's always thinking. That's what it's meant to do. It's like your heart is there to pump blood. Your mind is there to think. You can, quite difficult to switch it off unless you become a master meditator. But so your mind is a computer, and if you put in the right stuff, you get the right results, and also you get in different results if you program it in a different way. So your whole life shifts when you change the way you think and feel, but thinking is obviously our kind of our dominant one. So that's the analogy I like to use. You can reprogram yourself and get different results, see different things in life when you look after and observe your mind and choose to change it consciously, and then you can also change it unconsciously, but that's maybe for a later topic. That's the way I like to look at it. What about you?
No, I think that's brilliant, and actually that feeds in. You've really focused in there on what I consider the first part of mindset mastery. Most of what you said there was to do with the fact that we are our computer, and I totally agree. Like, it's shocking how much of our body and thoughts and emotions that we think are under our control are literally just an automated program. And it literally is just running in the background, just like a computer software, which is crazy. And my thoughts are that step number one is what you've just explained to us, which is learning that fact, understanding it, and becoming what we need, which is self-aware. We need to get that awareness of what the hell's going on inside, because we all, me for sure, up until the age of about 31, 32, maybe even a bit later, went through my life with zero awareness, literally completely ignoring this side, like just thinking that was me. That's who I am, and that's it. Stonewall, stop. You don't think any further, and you just accept that. But when you suddenly flip that switch and say, I won't accept that anymore, I am not just this thing that is being, these feelings and thoughts I'm having are not me, and that there's actually a program running there that I can observe and step back and look at, you suddenly gain awareness. And that's, for me, being a super powerful thing, that just is step number one. Become aware so that you can then do something about it. And I get from what I'd love to know from you kind of started to get there with what you just said, but like, obviously it makes a big change. It helps you massively, mindset mastery. For you, in your experience, and for both for yourself and others, where do you see the biggest, like, why do people need this? Like, what is the biggest benefit, and what is it that happens to the people who aren't doing this? Like, what do you see as the downsides and the upsides of this mindset mastery thing?
Wow. Okay, so the upsides, you realize that you are in control, or not necessarily control, but you have influence over what happens to you. You're not just a bug on a planet going through life. You can live a much happier, more fulfilled, enjoyable life, and ultimately that's what people want, right? We all want perfect days. That's what we're aiming for. So that's the a brief on the upside. People who aren't self-aware, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for them, because at some point there's going to be a brutal awakening for them. Something's going to happen that's going to shock them, because it's actually, I think it's part of consciousness, is that we want to evolve. It wants to evolve through us, and we become, as we become more aware, we live a happier life and can serve others better. For those people who don't have that, I think they struggle a lot more. They're stuck in the thinking brain, or the ego mind, which is perpetual struggle. And that's why Buddha and the like said, life is struggle, because that's what thinking is. It's struggling, and we don't need to struggle. We can be a lot happier. And actually that's the way that nature works. The plants outside in the Alps, they're not struggling like we are. We beat ourselves up the whole time. Life's difficult, all these things that we don't have. The mind is just, we haven't programmed it right yet to maximize how amazing humans can be on this planet.
That's so true. And I think maybe that's the biggest thing here to take away from just this chat, full stop, is we haven't programmed it right. And that defines the fact that we have the power to program it, which is the thing that people ignore, and the thing that people don't take the time to do. If you realize you can program yourself, and you can actually go into the operating system, and you can spend time working out the feelings and thoughts you're having, and make changes to the automated programming, then you can just improve your life across the board. And I think the main thing you focused on there was happiness. And I totally agree with that. Happiness is the end aim. Like, anyone who says to me, like, what's your vision? What are you trying to achieve? It's always like a mixture of things to do with making money, having free time, spending more time with the family, owning certain things, having loads of holidays. It's all these things, doing things, having things, seeing things, time. And actually, you've got to take one step back from all that. And you're going to say, why do you want those things? Oh, because they're going to make you happier than you are right now. You think they are the thing that's going to make you happy. So why don't we just dive straight back in, say, okay, ignore all of that. how can we make ourselves happier? Let's just go to the root cause. Let's
Right.
just solve that. And this is it, right? Mindset mastery is solving the root cause of saying what's making you unhappy.
Yes.
And in terms of your for me, what I see, you've just talked about conflict, suffering, struggle, conflict. I see this in everyone, suffering, struggle, and conflict, and they are all caused, and this is what I'm seeing more and more in our clients, in myself, and in everyone, my family, my friends. It's all caused by self-sabotage. Like there is literally an underlying automated system that is sabotaging our happiness. That's what self-sabotage is. It's when you allow the body's choices, not your conscious choices, the body's choices to define what you do in life and cause you to think or feel something that is a conflict for yourself that's going to make you feel worse. And I see it. I think, go back 3 years, I would never have said I was a self-sabotager. And I said, oh, my idea of self-sabotage is that I procrastinate. That's it. Like if I don't procrastinate, I'm not self-sabotaging. But I couldn't see with the full perspective that actually I'm taking actions all over the place that are basically unconscious self-sabotage. But you can't see it. Because as soon as you make a choice based on what the body tells you feels comfortable or not, you are high percentage chance self-sabotaging. You've got this chance that you're actually working off an automated system program that is telling you to do something based on something that happened, when you were 2 years old, and that's clearly not necessarily the right thing for you now.
Quick example.
Oh gosh. So for me, self-sabotaging actions. Whenever I start to feel negative about things in work, in business, it's usually at times when I've started to dive down into all the little details of everything that's happening. And it's because when I dive down into all the little details of everything that's going on, that's my automated method of trying to regain control of the business, regain control of my life. And if lots of things are happening, I start going, right, okay, I need to grab hold of all this again. And my automated programming is to get in there and start thinking about every single little thing that's happening, try and resolve them all. And as I dive down into that, what happens is I start seeing things in isolation without bigger perspective. I start focusing in on all the problems and not being able to see solutions. And I immediately start feeling more negative, which automatically gets me worse results, because when I'm feeling negative about things, I lose energy and I stop being so positive in in the kind of solutions I'm coming up with, all feeding into a less happy life with worse solutions happening, where the world of my business and everything that I'm dealing with is more overwhelming.
Right.
And that is one automated program inside of me saying, when things are getting busy, get in there and control it. Get into the detail. And that is because when I was raised by my parents, and this is the conscious thing I can think of in my youth, my dad was a detail-oriented person. Whenever I needed to get anything out of him, I always had to make the case. I had to dive into the details, analyze it, and work out how I was going to make it work so I could present to him a great case for why I should have this thing in my life, whatever it might be.
Right.
And that's how I was brought up. My dad was a PhD professor. He was a type of guy who insisted on full research, understanding everything. And if you could present a great case, he'd be willing to let you do things. And that's how I was trained as a young child to approach life. And that if you did that, things would turn out okay and you might get what you wanted. And yet now here I am, pure self-sabotage. It makes me less happy. It makes my results worse. I make the worst decisions because of it. And I only do it as an automated reaction to what's going on.
Right.
Done. Self-sabotage. But I would never have known that without becoming self-aware.
Right. And learning about the psychology of where our programming comes from. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. We think that if we're in control, things get done, and things are more likely to happen the way we want them to. Therefore, control is really important.
Yes.
As you mentioned, it usually comes from a childhood programming of either possibly a chaotic environment, and or parents who said, well, if you do this, then you get these results, and we'll love you if you do it correctly in this manner. And that kind of subconsciously programs us to go, okay, I must be in control the whole time, and or I must be really detailed and get all that fine detail and be perfect effectively. So a lot of the programming, the mindset that people have, comes and stems from our childhood. No bad thing, it's just being aware of it in order to be able to do something about it. And that's goes back to the awareness thing that you mentioned before.
So, I guess I'd also say that you don't have to go see a therapist to be able to do this either. I think obviously, people think, oh, if I want to solve childhood trauma, I'm going to have to go see a therapist. It's not true. It could be helpful. It could be the right thing. I've been to see a therapist at points, just to try and solve some things that were causing suffering for me, but it's not necessary. The self-awareness is you can do it yourself in many aspects.
And you know what, all therapies, whether it's psychotherapy or counseling, coaching, mentoring, consulting, they all have one thing common, and that is that it's a different perspective of what that person is thinking. And that's the thing that we give, is a different perspective, so that they can see a different way of looking at it, because we can't see things for ourselves. I can't see the things that I get wrong the way that you can, because you're not me and I'm not you. So it's so important to work with other people to get a different perspective, to really improve one's performance, if that's the desire. And actually that is an innate desire within people, is to continually improve, get better at something that they want to improve in, and that creates fulfillment, which is another form of happiness.
I think that what's really interesting about what you've said there is you brought it back to perspective. And I actually think if we determine what is mindset mastery, in a way, I could say 100% it is the ability to master your perspective.
Right.
Because you can have two people living the same life, exactly the same experiences, and one can be happy and the other not. That's it, right? And one can be getting better results than the other not. And the main thing that changes is their perspective on the situation. And if you can shift that perception of the world and view it in the right perspective, the whole thing changes. But that's the mastery, right? That's what we're aiming for. And there is another thing that I think came up there as well, was control. The control mechanism that my method of trying to control the world is to go into the detail and to start trying to grab on. And actually, this whole control thing is a big piece. And one of the main reasons that so many people try and control their external environment is because they haven't clocked onto the fact that it's not the external environment, it's not the people around them that are necessarily the cause of their emotions. Or at least they don't have to react to those people, right? In the way that they are. That's based on their choice of perspective. So can you just I'd love to hear your thoughts on this area of like, who is it? Like, what's the deal with people versus us in this arena?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's so much easier to blame external factors for the way we're thinking and feeling than it is to take responsibility for oneself. So blame, I mean, we're programmed by the media, by the news. They're always looking for blame. It's never the victim's fault. Of course, no, the victim is on the moral high ground. Therefore, it's someone else's fault. Who do we need to blame? How awful is this going to be? They're always programming us and looking for blame. And so we pick up on that as kind of a cultural thing. But people who are changing now, and there's a big shift in consciousness happening, I feel, is that they realize that actually know that they can influence and control and think differently by taking 100% responsibility for their reaction, their feeling about a situation or person or whatever, or event. And so when you take 100% responsibility for what's going on in your life, that's when you're empowered. Here's the thing: every negative thought you have is basically a disempowering thought. You're saying that external thing has the power over me and therefore poor me, effectively. But actually, when you choose to go, I'm responsible, it's my relationship with my parents, with my wife, with my husband, daughter, whatever it might be, I can do something about this. I don't know what yet, but I'm going to get I'm going to maybe read about it. I'm going to get some help. I'm going to get other people to give me a different perspective on it, and I'm going to try and resolve it. And when you choose to empower yourself in that way, that's when things can really shift. But I think it's never ending.
Yeah.
Every relationship, every business, life in general, we're always needing to keep working on ourselves, and we just refine things and get better and better. And that's why habits and routines really empower us to influence who we are, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, who we're becoming. And that's where more fulfillment and happiness really reside. Happiness is not having stuff. It's who we're being each day.
Yes, that actually, I love that, because it brings us onto that second part. Like I have a 3-step process to this mindset mastery, and step number 2 is to overcome all of those issues, all the challenges we have inside. And that's really what you've identified there, is this feeling of like, if you're continually evolving yourself, you've got to become aware of it so that you can work on it. You can actually work on yourself. And actually, in terms of that control, the world versus you, there is only one thing that we all have 100% control over. Everything else we don't have any true control over in the world. There's only one thing, and that is ourselves. Right. That's it. So why not work on the one thing you can control, rather than spend all your energy, this life energy we have? We only have 24 hours a day. We only have so much energy in our waking hours to focus attention on things. Why are we focusing so much on it, on trying to change others, on trying to change circumstances, on trying to change the world around us, rather than, I guess that brings.
Sorry, go on.
That was the question. I was thinking of, the main thing I was talking about was control, right? And this fact that it brings us to the concept that we constantly think that the best way is to try and control the world around us. Right. And that is us expending our life energy and the time that we have in the day, the effort that we can give to anything is only limited and finite. And we are choosing to spend that energy on trying to control something that we know is outside of our control. It's other people. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless. Events are going to transpire regardless. But the one thing we truly have 100% control over is ourselves. So why don't we spend energy working on that? Which most people, that's it. Most people don't. They just don't bother. They only try and work on controlling others.
Yes, exactly. And then resenting other people, resenting themselves, beating themselves up, etc. It's but the thing is, people always want, what's the one thing? What's the one thing that we could do? And yes, there is the one thing that we can influence and as much as possible control ourselves. But at the same time, we need to also let go and go, you know what? There's clearly something out here that's intelligent, because I'm not thinking about the grass growing. It just grows, it just appears. It happens without me thinking about it. And so we've got to, on the one hand, yes, by all means, control and influence our lives by having the right habits, the right ways of thinking, exercise, good sleep, all those things that we know contribute to a good and happy life. And then also, on the other hand, is go, you know what, I'm just going to let go. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to enjoy the variety, opportunity that comes about as a result of putting myself in a different environment, or speaking to someone I've never met before, or the randomness of life that happens as well too, and just enjoy what happens and being present to it, rather than going back to the thinking, which is either projecting forward about what we think is going to happen, or remembering the past and bringing it into this present moment. So that thing around being present is absolutely essential to mastering one's mindset effectively, because that's where life happens. It's in the present, but we're so rarely there that we miss out on really true happiness, which is always available to us. And so total freedom is always available to us in this present moment, the infinite present moment.
You've jumped down 2 avenues there. One we're not going to explore today because it is deep. So you got the 2 levels, obviously, of what we can do and our automated systems and neurological pathways and everything that kind of is scientifically proven. And then you've got the deeper level of kind of consciousness and what is guiding the universe and what's guiding everything out there. And interestingly, letting go, I think, is a crux point of empowerment. And there's whole books on letting go. Stephen Hawking has an amazing book called Letting Go. Is it David Hawkins? His name, guy did Stellar Consciousness. Yeah, sorry, wrong first name. David Hawkins has a fantastic book called Letting Go, and other great books from him. And in theory, for me, that is one of the most empowering things you can learn to do. One of the most powerful mindset mastery tools in the kit is to let go. And it works on both levels, like letting go to allow the universe to guide you. And there's an incredible book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer that I know I like. You've read, I've read, I've suggested to so many people, because that's a man who just started letting go and surrendering to the universe and allowing the universe to guide him, and the results are incredible in his life.
Right.
And that's the deeper level. But
Yes.
the level that interests me today is more of the higher level letting go, of just using that level to say, I let go of holding on to all of my negative grudges, these things, trying to control all this action I'm trying to take, which isn't bringing happiness into my life. Because as soon as you let go of these things, your life gets lighter and better. You don't need to believe anything else beyond that, just to know. And I was reading Gandhi's autobiography at the moment, and there's a wonderful moment I've just gotten to, where he's walking down a street in South Africa where there's huge problems between coloured and non-coloured, people, and the whites are still very much treating like second-class citizens, and the Indians are included in this. And he's walking down a street, and he's just walking past, it just happens to be the president's house, and a policeman, just for no reason, just in front of the house, just kicks him, just comes over and beats him and kicks him into the street, and just says, get off the path, get out of here. No warning, no anything. And a white guy is coming along on a horse and says, oh, I saw that. I think it's completely outrageous, and it just happened to be a guy who supported the Indians in this situation. And he said, I will back you up if you want to take that guy to court. Now, Gandhi was a solicitor, and he could have done this very easily. He could have tried to make a case and take the guy to court. And his response was, no, I've made a decision to not ever hold anything like this against anyone here. I'm going to just let go of this issue. I've just been beaten and thrown into the street, but that's not a good use of my life, of my energy. And that, it's amazing. And it just shows this man, he was quite young at this time, he was still in his formative years, but this is why he ended up being so influential, because even at that age, he was beaten and kicked down, and he didn't respond in any negative way. He just said, no, I get it. How could that guy know any different? That's the world he's living in.
Yeah. That's an amazing story, and it makes me think of one of my favorite quotes, which is, everyone is doing the best they can from their own level of consciousness, which is 100% true, and it's also a get out clause, but it makes you realize that people just doing what they think is right from their own awareness, from their own education, from their own level of consciousness. So actually it is the master skill, is non-attachment, letting go of thinking life has to be this way. If there are no laws out there that says life has to be this way, we make them up in our mind, and then if it's not that way, that's when we're unhappy, and that's when we struggle and dissatisfied, and we're attached to outcomes, and that attachment is what causes a lot of struggle and suffering. And also the judgment of that situation, going, it should be like this. It's like, well, who says it should be like this? We just created that way of thinking, and it's not necessarily serving us. So I'm 100% with Gandhi. There's certain things that are worth, I don't like to use the word fighting for, but there are certain things worth pursuing, and there are other things where it's like, it's just not worth engaging or wasting our energy over it. There are better ways to use our time, effort, and passion, hopefully, towards a purpose that really fulfills us.
I guess I'd say that, like, in that respect, talking about what is worthwhile, like, this isn't just about rolling over and just letting life beat you up. Like, Gandhi just chose his, he didn't want a petty vindictive fight. He chose to put his life energy into the bigger picture, the higher perspective of making large scale change in the world. And guess that's where he ended up. Like, that's his choice, and he made that decision. It's just incredible when people do follow that way of living and let go and don't hold the grudges, and their mindset is all the time. The level of impact they have on the world, the results that they see in their lives are huge.
Yeah.
It's such a different life they lead. I guess that brings me back to that original why do this. It's like it's amazing when you see it in action.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And letting go does not mean doing nothing. It's more about
Yes.
being open to what happens on the journey of living a fulfilling life, doing things, serving others in a way that you find enjoyable and fulfilling. So as to the Michael Singer's story, he became a billionaire, but he loved running that company. He loved originally programming, and yes, he meditated a couple of hours a day and was always surrendering to things, and the universe always effectively in a way brought him better and better things, not without its turmoil and struggles. He was taken to court and it took like 6 or 7 years to resolve, but every time he just knew that there was, and that's the thing, that belief that something better, or something, the right thing is going to happen for you in order to, one, get the lesson, and two, grow and experience life even more. And that's a lovely way to live, a good mantra to live by. And in the book, The Surrender Experiment, Michael Singer, he becomes a multi-billionaire running his business, but he's not attached to any outcome. He just surrenders the whole time. He does 2 hours meditation every day. So not being attached, letting go, is not doing anything. It's driving forward and being passionate about what you're up to, but it's at the same time being aware and being open to what happens, and effectively to surrendering, knowing that whatever happens is happening for a reason, and it's okay if it happens, it's okay if it doesn't happen. You're just enjoying the journey, which kind of brings us back to about being present. Lots of big topics we can go into there.
It's huge, and I think we've got to tie it up for today because we're out of time, Dom. But I think you've sparked on a few things that we're definitely going to come back on our podcast, because I think there's a huge connection here between the more intellectual, cognitive processes of letting go and the deeper spiritual stuff, and like, where does that interplay, and is it religious or not religious, and like what do different religions say about it, and where is that useful or not useful to someone who is potentially an atheist. And I think that is a massive conversation that we should just explore a little bit on another episode, because it's so useful. It's been massive, because I'm not religious. I've never been religious, but I must say now I'm spiritual, and there is a big difference between the two. But I can say that since evolving myself, I've seen such a huge difference in my own results and my own happiness levels.
Mm-hmm.
I now finally see the power that religion can have for someone, which I couldn't before. But not saying that I have a particular religion that I follow, but I can see the power of it. And I think there's definitely, just to dive into what we can gain from these various different spiritual aspects that are open to us, would be a great episode.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that one, because it is a bit controversial and people have some strong views.
Yes.
And so I know it would be a bit, it would be a bit of a conflict for some people, but actually that's where we learn and grow, is when we see different perspectives.
Very true.
Yeah.
I really hope that you are enjoying the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast so far. If you are, please do make sure you're connected with us on social media. We'll put the links to our social media profiles in the show notes, and also our website too, Property Strategy, where you can find out more about what else we're up to. We've got some events coming up in the autumn, a 10-year anniversary event that we're running called Living the Property Dream. So check that out if you're interested and you're enjoying the stories that we're sharing here, and also a brand new event called the Raising Finance Formula. So if you're interested to understand how to raise finance for your property company and to do it in a way that's really scalable, then definitely go and check that out. So what's up next week? Next Friday at 8 a.m. we'll be launching the next episode, which is all around focus and productivity to ensure you can achieve rapid business success. So that's going to be me and Dom discussing, really, we're getting down to the nitty gritty of tools and techniques for how you can boost not only your time management, but your energy management too. So look forward to seeing you, or hearing you, or you'll be hearing me next time on the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast.